brush that paints, the hand that lies, a palette masking what's inside. With every shade, the stories drip. Welcome to the loose lip.
Hello, 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 beautiful people, and welcome to the Loose Lip Podcast. My name is Kelsey Ray, and I will be the MUA whose brain you will be picking today. Thank you so much. We are almost at 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's pretty impressive for my little teeny tiny podcast. So thank you all for subscribing. And if you haven't, why haven't you? Get on that. I am so excited about talking about this topic today because I myself was a skeptic of the idea prior to almost being 40. And I have to say that since I was a wee bitty child, my skincare routine has been pretty advanced. I had a really well-off aunt who was so amazing, but also would give me all of her gift with purchases from La Mer, Estee Lauder, Lancôme. And what comes in those gift with purchases are usually the high-end products, just in sample size. And they want you to love them and come back and get the full size. My auntie didn't really need those travel sizes because she, would buy travel sizes for herself anyway. So she would give them to me. So at 8 years old, I started using retinoids, peptides, and all kinds of high-end anti-aging products. What that means for me is that, yes, I do not look my age, but nothing over the counter really works for me anymore. I've had to turn to the aesthetics and plastic surgery options. I haven't had any major surgeries yet, but they're on my mind for possibly later down the road. But I have had Botox and I have had some fillers and I have had some things like that before. Like I said, was really against the idea. Like aging naturally seemed so great to me and that it's a privilege to be that age. But when it became the time to really think about these procedures, I started to realize that aging in my body doesn't necessarily mean I have to go with the flow. I can still enjoy myself and like the way that I look and maybe tweak and change a few things here and there. A lot of people do this nowadays. There's a lot of preventative procedures that people do to make sure that those issues don't become a major problem down the line. Now, the big reason why I wanted to talk about the subject today was because I recently, and I know it's been out for quite a long time, I recently saw the movie The Substance. And if you don't know anything about that movie, please stop listening to this podcast right now. Turn off everything. Go watch that movie. It is breathtakingly amazing. Fair warning beforehand, there's a ton of body horror, which if you know me, I am a huge horror head and body horror is right up there at the top for me. The whole meaning behind this movie, the intent of this movie, the feelings that you get when watching this, especially as a woman in society today, is I don't even have words. They did such a great job. A horror movie written by a woman about women's aging. Could you get any better than that? The journey that both the main characters, I should say all three of the main characters, go through in this movie, from somebody who was a young starlet that was beautiful and perky and bright and everything seemed so great for her, to aging, which everyone does. She's now insignificant and unimportant. She needs to be replaced by a new, shinier version of what she is. Her whole journey and what she goes through throughout this movie and the issues that she's facing within herself as well as externally. You couldn't have gotten a better viewpoint of how the feeling of aging can be. The pressure that society has for especially women is insurmountable. The fact that you are not worthy if you look your age, if you are older, if you aren't basically a baby fetus face. There's so much within this movie. And I really wanted to talk about this subject today because I felt it. I got it. I understood it. But we're going to relate this to real life and where plastic surgery has gone from historically to now, what the trends have been to now, and where should we stop when we start doing these procedures? Is there a good line of where we should be, or should we just accept ourselves naturally and move on? Today, we're going to talk about fillers, filters, and fucked up perspectives. Things have evolved and progressed since the first recording of a plastic surgery procedure to now. Now everything is pretty much all fake. Anything that you see on social media, anything that you see on your phone, even your cameras on your phones have filters. Nothing's really real anymore. So our expectations of what we look like is really skewed. Before, we used to just do plastic surgery procedures for medical reasons and for health reasons, then progressed to what aesthetics are more pleasing for society and how should we look comparative to the person next to us. Now we're going to go a little Miss Frizzle science class right now. So we're going to go back in history and I'm going to read you some facts that go from literally the first account to now. Some of these are pretty shocking, so we're going to get into it. 3000 BCE, ancient Egypt. First recorded evidence of reconstructive procedures. Ancient Egyptians' texts describe rudimentary methods for repairing nasal injuries. Mummified remains showed attempts at aesthetic preservation. Even in death, beauty mattered. Ancient Egyptians would use wood and wax to reconstruct noses for burial aesthetics. So when, of course, a body decomposes and is mummified, your nose, being just fresh tissue, is taken off. So making sure that the souls of the dead on the other side would recognize the person being buried and mummified, they reconstructed the nose so that the face looked similar to the face on the sarcophagi, which are also highly ornate and decorative and perfected within their carvings. In 600 BCE, an Indian physician named Shashruta, which I'm sorry if I totally butchered that, documents surgical techniques including rhinoplasty, nose reconstruction, using a flap of skin from the cheek or forehead. His techniques formed the basis of modern reconstructive surgery. So his techniques are actually still used to this day in reconstructive surgery, back from 600 BCE. That's pretty incredible. First century CE in ancient Rome. Roman physician Cornelius Silius described surgical techniques in De Messina, mostly focused on repairing damaged ears and noses from battle or punishment. A shocking fact, Roman soldiers who lost ears in battle often sought cosmetic reconstructive surgery for social status. You were looked down upon because you were disfigured. So having your parts reconstructed made you higher on the social status. This is where it starts to come in, where the aesthetics are melding in with the medical aspect. Now we're going to switch here a little bit to not really liking those things so much. From 900 to 1500 CE in the Middle Ages, we have surgeries declining in Europe due to religious taboos. Western religion was booming at the time, and putting your aesthetics and your looks before God, big no-no. In the Islamic world, we have medical innovations being written about with surgical instruments and techniques advancing. Within the Eastern world, we have advancements in not only medical, but also aesthetical. But in the Western world, we start to see things decline because putting those aspects of your health first, not so good to God. In the 16th century, we have rhinoplasty for treating syphilitic nose collapsing. There's accounts of people actually having metal nose replacements, wax nose replacements, wooden nose replacements, like how they did with the ancient Egyptians, replacing the nose to finish off the face. This is just a little bit more icky. Using arm flap techniques to reconstruct noses, they would take pieces of arm tissue and skin from parts of the body, mainly the arms because they can be hidden, and reconstruct a flap of skin on the face to recreate your nose. A shocking fact, the patient's arm would be grafted to their face for weeks until the skin fused properly. So having your actual arm fused to your face until the skin healed, and then it could be removed. Okay. In 1794, we have British colonial physicians witnessing Indian rhinoplasty, like we talked about earlier. Publishing this in Gentleman's Magazine over in Europe spread the technique around Europe. The spark of the Western interest in Eastern surgical methods then started. In 1827, we have the first cleft palate surgery in the United States. Dr. John Peter Madauer performs the first successful cleft palate surgery using self-designed instruments. That That's pretty damn cool. Fun fact, the use of wax, specifically paraffin, as a breast augmentation material began in the late 19th century with Dr. Robert Gerson injecting it into the breasts in the 1890s. However, this technique was discontinued due to high risk of infection, complications like wax hardening, lumpy breast shape, and so on. The first documented breast augmentation procedure involving tissue transplant occurred in 1895. They would use things like paraffin wax, wool, wood shavings, even glass balls for breast augmentations prior to using tissue. That's disgusting. We only have like 5 more facts to go in this history timeline, so bear with me here. World War I, 1914 to 1918. We have modern reconstructive surgery being born. This is where advancements in the field have really progressed. Surgeon Harold Giles pioneering facial reconstruction for soldiers with disfiguring injuries. Over 20,000 British soldiers received facial surgery during World War I. World War II from 1939 to 1945. Sir Archibald Mikado, again, sorry I butchered that, he's the cousin of Giles that we just spoke of, advances techniques for burned airmen. The Guinea Pig Club is what they nicknamed them. That's really horrible. I understand the purpose, but that just sounds so bad. The reconstruction of hands, faces, and skin grafts becomes more sophisticated. We're really advancing in this time period. In the 1950s to 1960s, surgeons began marketing procedures not for injury, but for enhancements. Breast implants were introduced in 1962. Timmy Jean Lindsay was the first recipient. Breast implants were used with polyvinyl sponges that often hardened and leaked. That is absolutely disgusting. Just thinking that you have something inside of your body that's literally absorbing all the blood and mucus and just fluids of your body, and then they could harden over time and possibly leak into your body. Jesus Christ. 1980s to 1990s popularization and TV surgeons. Liposuction gains popularity introduced in the late 70s. Not only women, but men were also getting liposuction to reduce the size of their breast area as well as their midsections. TV and Hollywood normalized cosmetic enhancements, very much so in the 90s. Celebrities undergo secret procedures. That is very interesting to see that now with television being accessible to the normal household, you can see that it becomes part of the anti-aging gold rush, so to speak, where everybody sees this level of perfection. Well, prior to television, we didn't have as much invested in that aspect. We had some idea, but it wasn't as blatantly pushed in our faces. Last but not least, we have 2 more. 2000s to 2010, we have mainstream and global boom. Botox is FDA approved in 2002 for cosmetic use. That's insane. I can't believe that it was that long ago. The rise of minimal invasive procedures like fillers and lasers are introduced. Reality TV like Extreme Makeover, Botched, and The Swan glamorize dramatic transformations. If you have ever seen the show The Swan, it's disgusting. They would actually do multiple procedures at one time on someone within a very short amount of time. I think they had like possibly a month to get these people from normal looking to extremely beautiful, quote unquote, in their perspective. They would do a facial reconstructive surgery, breast augmentation, liposuction, a butt enhancement, leg and arm liposuction, all within the same surgery time, not just separation of days or even hours within the same procedure. It was absolutely disgusting. Minimal invasive procedures outnumber surgical ones 3-1 by 2018. Minimal little tweaks done to ourselves, so much more than major surgeries by 2018. Last but not least, we have the 2020s to now, the Instagram face era and normalization. Social media filters and influencer cultures create new beauty standards. Lifted brows, plump lips, contoured cheeks, and snatched jawlines. Preventative Botox, used by people in their 20s doing preventative Botox, where it's not even there yet, but we want to make sure it doesn't get worse down the line. Plastic surgery tourism explodes, especially in Turkey, South Korea, Brazil, and Mexico. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have a friend from Korea, and she's gone over multiple times to get things done. done, and her work looks impeccable. And it's a quarter of the price of what we pay. But the fact that people go to like Turkey, have you heard of turkey teeth before? The technique of getting veneers put on is very different over in Turkey, but it's much cheaper over there. So people will spend the money that it would cost to get your veneers done here, fly over to Turkey, spend a week there, and get your teeth filed down to nubbins and have fake teeth glued back on. Ridiculous what we do to ourselves. The BBL, or the Brazilian butt lift, becomes one of the most sought after but dangerous procedures. A large percentage of people that get BBLs have complications. The fact that you're taking fat from one part of your body and injecting it into your tuchus, if they inject it incorrectly, it can go into your bloodstream and kill you. These procedures are not just fun and games over one day and go get something done and you look perfect. There is a long process to ensure that you are doing it correctly, as well as your doctors. 1 in 3,000 BBL patients die, making it one of the deadliest cosmetic surgeries. Getting your ass done can kill you. The statistics that we have for the U.S. and globally, according to the International Society of Aesthetics Plastic Surgery, ISAPS, over 30 million cosmetic procedures were performed globally in 2022. 14 million surgical and 16 million minor or aesthetical. Top 5 popular surgeries worldwide from 2023. Liposuction is number 1. Number 2 is breast augmentation. Number 3 is eyelid surgery, where they take the eyelid and lift it up so that it's not sagging. We have rhinoplasty, which again is the reconstruction of the nose, and tummy tuck. US is number 1 in the world for total procedures, followed by Brazil and South Korea. That is the end of our timeline. That was a lot, I know, but I really wanted to make sure that we got the real perspective of where things have started to where they now are. Some shocking and fascinating facts that I have. China banned celebrities from showing cosmetic surgery results on social media to curb social pressure. South Korea has the highest rate of cosmetic surgery per capita. 1 in 3 women in Seoul between 19 and 29 have had a procedure. And this isn't just minor tweaking they're talking about. They're talking about a major procedure being done. Men's cosmetic procedures increased by over 30% since 2000 because of the rise of social media and health trainers on social media. The way that men view their bodies is completely different than what it used to be. I mean, men invented makeup, for fuck's sake. They were wearing dresses and high heels. They're the ones that actually started all that stuff. But now the aesthetic is bigger and more bulky and strength. And now people are getting enhancements for their calves, for their butts, for their chest, pec implants, arms, all kinds of different things. The average age of the first time Botox user is now 26. My first injection of Botox was just this year, actually. So 39. I am not going to lie. I love my results. I go to Velvet Skyn Ascetics in Olympia. Shout out to them. I absolutely love the ladies there. They weren't pushy about what I should get done. They weren't like, oh yeah, here's circle here and point here and pinpoint here. Let's get all this shit done. They were so knowledgeable of what they were doing. They were passionate about what they were doing. And they encouraged me to go home and do research about these procedures before I even got them done. I couldn't ask for a better situation, especially going into something that I don't know anything about. Influencer-led trends like fox eye surgery or Barbie Botox cause waves in under 30 seeking dramatic face changes. There is a procedure called the buccal fat removal. And buccal fat, the area is right here. So if you would like to have more of a snatched jawline and a more defined crease in the cheek to bring up your cheekbones, they literally remove the fat of this area so you look real gaunt. The problem with that is that it doesn't fit your face aesthetically. Your face is supposed to have tissue there, but also it makes the skin less able to bounce back. You don't have as much elastin and collagen in your skin. So when you have this tautness to the face, you end up sagging later as the tissue starts to age. I don't know why the hell people are doing it. And that concludes the timeline, y'all. Thank you so much for staying with me if you have. I know that was a very long talk, but again, I really wanted to show the way that we have advanced in plastic surgery, from things going from medical and slightly aesthetic to literally almost unachievable results that we're wanting, and how popular it's now become, to where it was just more so people that were injured to now it's people preventing age from happening. It's more about ageism than it is about actual health. COVID did a number on us, not just in general for the world. I mean, for how we look at ourselves. We were covering our faces in masks whenever we saw anyone else, and so our identity was hidden. Then when we only really had social media and the internet to reach out to other people, we were able to adjust our looks to the way that we wanted. We could use apps, filters on our phones, all kinds of different ways to change the way that we looked. Getting that thrown in our faces as much as it was distorted the way that we view ourselves now. It became this progressive, intense wanting to adjust ourselves to look like an AI version of ourselves. Now, again, don't get me wrong, I obviously have done procedures myself so far, and I plan on getting more extreme procedures later in different ways to adjust my body to where I want it. The difference that I'm saying is that we are now judging ourselves upon this filtering effect. Because our cameras and our phones already have built-in filters, because you go on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook even, those pictures that we upload are then perfected by the programming. So now we have no real identity anymore. When I have clients that come to me and they say they want to look like this AI look that they grabbed off of Pinterest or something, yes, it's a beautiful idea, but some clients actually have this mindset that they can become what this AI image is. You can't do that. Skin has texture. You move. If you were a mannequin, sure, we could get you there. But because you're a real person with real skin and real emotions on your face, you can't look like that. No matter how much makeup, when we go into plastic surgery, that's when those, I can't get it over the counter, I need to get it professionally done, starts to come into play. Adjusting your face to where it makes you comfortable and makes you happy in your own body, perfectly fine and healthy. Then we go into the problem that once you get a procedure done and your eye gets used to the way that you look, the results don't seem as extreme anymore. Say, for example, somebody went and got their lips injected with hyaluronic acid, which is a normal filler that they use to plump up the lips. When you first get them done, yes, they are quite extreme because it's different from what you're used to. Give it a week. Swelling does go down. Now that swelling's gone down and your brain is used to the look of that swollen look, your lips actually don't seem as big anymore. And maybe you might want more. Maybe you might need them a little bit more next time. And then things progress to the point where now Kris Jenner looks like Kim Kardashian. I think there's a bit of a step too far on that woman's part. Yes, she looks amazing, but the fact that she can mimic the look of her daughter, who is decades younger than her, is quite perplexing. Where do we draw the line? Using filters on applications to make ourselves slightly different, smoother, tighter, fuller, whatever it is, that's the norm. When we start to go into procedures, where is it okay to cut the line? Should you have a say in that? Everybody's body is their own. They can do whatever they want as long as they have the money to pay for it. But when does it go too far? Most surgeons will tell you maybe that's not correct, or this is too much, or I wouldn't suggest this procedure, I'd suggest this one, to give you the best result. But in the end, it comes down to how you view yourself and what you think is best. Some people go to the extremes because they don't see themselves the way that people see it. I myself battled with body dysmorphia for most of my life. I grew up being told that skinny was best. Dieting is how you get skinny, not eating is how you get skinny. All of these very horrible ways to adjust your body to make yourself more socially acceptable. I was always a curvy girl. I'm 5'4". I'm rather large in the chest and the hips and tiny in the middle. I have a very hourglass figure. The problem is that the time when I was growing up, it was the 90s. We didn't like that look. It was wafer thin, no boobs, no butt. If you looked back at the advertisements, everybody was tiny. Seeing myself not tiny was a horrible feeling. Every day I lived in the idea that I have to be thinner, I have to be tiny, I have to be accepted. As I've grown, I've literally grown in different places, of course, and I love the way that I look. I love my body. Yeah, I could be a little bit stronger, so I go to the gym, but I'm not looking to be some kind of enhanced model. I'm not trying to be somebody who's got a BB that doesn't fit their body or has breast augmentations to where when I'm 60, my boobs look like rocks. I just maybe want to outrun somebody next to me when it's the zombie apocalypse. I want strength over aesthetics. That's where I draw the line for myself. Everybody's line is different. Some people want those extreme looks and they're happy with them. Should we just let them be or should we criticize? I want to read you finally a little something that I found that feels very fitting to this episode as well as where we're going within aesthetics and plastic surgery. In a bleak future where perfection is mandated, the individuality outlawed, plastic surgery has become compulsory. Every citizen is required to undergo routine enhancements to fit the ever-evolving beauty algorithm by a global cosmetic regime. Natural features are erased, replaced with identical, expressionless symmetry, designed to eliminate all traces of aging, imperfections, and emotions. Faces become currency, status determined by how seamless one conforms. But in the shadows of this polished dystopia, a quiet rebellion grows. A small group of defectors refuse to be reshaped, preserving their untouched skin, time-worn lines as act of defiance. They believe that in the folds of a smile and the asymmetry of a gaze lies the last fragment of humanity, and they will risk everything to protect what the world has been told to forget. I want to know your thoughts on this. I want to know what you think about the whole situation of plastic surgery for prevention of issues in the future, about whether or not you've gotten plastic surgery or have considered it. Do you think that we've gone too far, or do you think that we haven't gone far enough? Let me know in the comments below. Whether you're listening or watching, I would love to hear your feedback. So thank you again for being with me on this long journey of the history of plastic surgery and a little bit of insight here and there. I'll see you on the next one. Bye. So if you look at the sarcophagi that are used in ancient Egyptian burials, you can see the ornate and elaborate... Fuck, I forgot the word. Was there something about pinning your penis to your pants? I feel like that was the thing people did. Tell me why. At the end of my video, I realized that I have Forrest Whitaker eye going on over here. Like, what's happening? What'd I do? Maybe I should get my eyes done.